Technology could fail on us and it won't kill us. Everything okay? No, I did all the things. I did all the 4 or 5 things that it's that you can feel how warm it is back here.
Yeah, you kind of know.
Turn what down? I did turn it down. That's turned down even more, but I did turn it down. So today, sorry, she was just trying to help me by turning it down, giving it some more cooling. We'll see if it works. So today I've been thinking about some of the things we've been doing and trying to, we always come back to the kind of same pillars that make abstract art good: line, form, color, texture, like we could go on, right? Balance. And one of the things that, we have touched on, oh, hi, Audrey, you're so cute in the background. One of the things that we've touched on a lot is color. However, we haven't really actually been that strict about color choices. So we have 2 exercises today that are 100% about color choices. We're going to be a little stricter about making good color choices. I also did find some resources for us. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. I found some resources because, we've talked a lot about complementary color relationships. What I like about this particular resource is that it clearly shows you what color choices can be by highlighting colors, right? So today we're going to do some colorings, kind of like adult coloring. However, we're going to start by choosing a complementary color scheme. And then we're going to do an analogous color scheme, which is this one: colors that are next to each other, colors that your brain says, hey, that makes sense together. I think they probably do it in 4s. I tend to be like red, orange, yellow, or dark purple, blue, green, that kind of thing. And then we're going to do it in a triadic color scheme. So here they show you one version of a triadic color scheme. It's going to depend on how you do it. You can do this exercise with paints or colored pencils. And then we're going to try and apply our newly learned color theory concepts to our next painting. What I like about this weird quilting workshop that talks about color theory is not only do they show you color relationships and you can see directly how color relationships work, but they also show you some quilts with these colors and they show you what kind of color scheme they are. I think that we talk about this and we don't, can't always be seen how they apply together. One of the things I think that gets confusing about color theory is that color theory is always talked about in terms of like primary colors or in terms of these basic color sets. So what happens if you like this like Easter egg pink here, this magenta pink, this lighter magenta pink, and how do you choose new colors to go with it because you're on a different value or a different tone than your color wheel necessarily is on. So I kind of like that they have some examples here so that you can see how it plays out in real life work. It's funny that I found this considering I have been paying more attention to quilting lately. Not that I intend to take up quilting like I need another hobby like a shot in the face, but I have been thinking about it a lot. So this exercise, kind of the steps of it is that you're going to draw a simple geometric form. You're going to fill in the spaces with what they call texture. And then you're going to explore color relationships by choosing your color schemes. Immediately you can do it in sets of triangles or hexagons, like a bee's hive, that kind of thing, these things like that, and then use them to color in. I found this one to be especially present visually when I did this kind of, and I drew it out for myself. So created little hills, kind of landscapey, only because they kind of help us split things up. Okay. So here's the thing about your color schemes. Remember I said we're going to start with complementary colors, meaning you're going to choose two colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel for this. And you can choose various tones and things like that, but you're thinking globally here when you make your color choices. We're creating a design that has lots of interest locally, but the most important part is how is the overall effect, and treat my whole design. You don't have to do a huge design. I'm going to do a smaller one for this example so you can see it. So I've created my little landscapey hill things, right? And what it means by adding texture is, taking and creating some designs within your little moundy hill things. Like I said, you could do triangles, you could do rectangles, you could do circles. I like these things because they have a little bit of interest. And then say, I decide I'm going to do a little design. This is almost kind of like, just weird geometry, right? And then basically after we've created our design, I like to do kind of repetitive designs, meaning not exactly the same, but close enough to the same that they go well together. Each one of these little weird hills will get a design drawn in like this. And then we're going to go through and color them. So it's really easy to get caught up in the concept of just adult coloring, which is just coloring however you want to color. However, we're training our brain to automatically make good color decisions versus whatever color decisions we previously were making. And so I want you to have some forethought. So especially when you are considering a contrasting color situation. Oh man, this got real small up here, didn't it?
I was gonna say that's tiny.
Woo! So when you're making your color decisions here, thinking globally means, so we're working within two colors for our first one, right? Because we're doing complementary colors. So say I'll probably do a blue and an orange because that's my favorite. There are lots of options. Purple and green are actually really great and beautiful together. You can do a couple of different versions, but the concept here is you're not necessarily going like all my triangles are purple and all of my lines are green. You want to think, what does it mean to have multiple shades of blue and then one orange? How are you creating impact with your color choices? Because honestly, the most successful abstract work is work where they have intentionally made choices that are dynamic. But those choices have to be started at the beginning. This idea that you're just going to naturally make the right color choices doesn't always exist until you've been painting for a while. So I want you to start, this is going to be a longer project than normal because it takes a while to draw out these things. The idea is you're using texture. You have multiple ways to really explore color here because your textured designs give you options about where color is going to be placed. In the larger scheme, there are also cells within cells within cells, right? There's 1,000 choices you can make here that can make your work great or not great. Say you don't want to necessarily do as complicated of a design as I've started here. A good example would be something like this as well. Hold on. I don't know. Okay, so say you want it to be a little more exploratory. Ooh, I definitely got the hardest paintbrush in the pack. You could just make a simple of a mark as this, inside of your things to make texture. And then the idea here is obviously that you're choosing the colors and you're making choices about color that can be impactful over the long term of the painting. We're going to talk about why you made your color choices, so actually make good ones. Man, I really chose the worst paintbrush for this. This paintbrush is going to be kicked out of my life forever. We are
Wild.
breaking up. So the idea here is you want to make choices in your explorations here that are about exploring the colors, but also about exploring visually what is the overall concept, how does it come together? How are you using color to make something dynamic? How are you using color in this instance? Because I feel like we just kind of choose whatever colors we like. And that is a way of painting, please do not be mistaken. I'm just hoping to teach a little bit more intention so that people can be more successful in how they do their work. Why am I choosing to do so many of these red, so few green? Part of it is that visually you want to drive people through your painting. You want to provide interest, you know? So I'm gonna go back to working on my top one and not spend all the time on this one, but I just wanted to show you how you could have different versions that were not necessarily as complicated as the one I'm doing up top. I'm gonna do a more complicated one just for experimenting's sake. I shouldn't have painted on the bottom though, huh? Right below where I'm drawing. You can always make good choices. We're just trying to make better choices by learning something about ourselves. Yeah. So something I'm trying with the complementary colors is just trying to be really, and you don't have to do like layers of texture that are super complicated. I'm just going to do stripes in this middle one here, just because I feel like, and probably some big color blocks, honestly, because I feel like my drawing is going to need some cooling off. It's going to be so complicated, and I'm going to use colored pencils on this top one because it's a lot more complicated of a drawing, right? I also made the mistake of choosing the pencil that smears everywhere, which is a personal pet peeve of mine that I hate. But, it is what it is. Okay. I got out my Conte colored pencils today because I like them more. And because they give me a lot more options color-wise. I'm going to go with blue and yellow. Maybe blue and orange. Blue and yellow. Go with blue and yellow, but I'm going to use several shades of each one. By several, I mean two. I was smart though. I got out the new pencil sharpener so I could actually just conveniently. This project can even be done in as simple as stripes. Stripes are actually somewhat hard to do well because you really do have to be conscious. What color choices are you making? What is the impact of those colors? It's not, stripes, it's, people think that it's just a simple thing, but it is hard to make stripes make people feel that something is dynamic. It's It's really easy to do them in a really boring manner. I'm really regretting this painting on the bottom here where it's so wet. I actually wasn't a child that really enjoyed coloring. I find it kind of monotonous. And it's a funny thing that I am doing a coloring thing, but I feel like, you know, this is a choice we need to more intentionally make.
This, and I was going to say, it's interesting, the idea, the concepts about how to determine analogous. I realize that I ask people all the time to do split complementary stuff. I just didn't know that's what it was called. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now I can call it split complementary.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing a complement, and then you're throwing in another color that is in a different place on the color wheel.
Yeah, and the thing is the color wheel, for artists that really use the color wheel, like Heather Day really uses the color wheel. It can be really impactful, but you have to know what you're looking for,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Part of that though is like, how do we give ourselves enough of the knowledge so that we make those decisions intuitively?
Right.
It really made this part really tiny. You can't even tell what's going on there. Isn't that ridiculous? I guess this is also one of those exercises that for perfectionists, it's going to just be a little bit of torture almost, because making everything look perfect. But you can do, there are larger choices that you can make, you know, something that's not so tiny like I've done. I've clearly tried to torture myself. Have you considered asking your students to use other color things like triadic or?
I want to say that today I did. So I have a class I'm teaching for the Portland Fine Art Guild on Thursday, and I'm going to have them do the triadic color scheme and explain to them what that is. I'll sound like I know so much.
You use the correct terminology. It's nice, right?
Right, right.
What's nice about the split complementary is there is a lot of different ways to try and explain to people what split complementary means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about like use 2 colors from one temperature and 1 color from another temperature. And really, they're just different ways of trying to say split complementary.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a really powerful and pleasing color theory.
Don't forget, guys, to take pictures and send them across the thread. And she keeps like putting her cat up and like, get off.
She just stands right on my drawing here.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So I'm fighting wet paint and you're fighting a cat who wants to be part of the game.
Did you watch? She just keeps like, you just keep saying, there she is. She just came back. Keep seeing Jean pick her up and put her down. She just
Animals
keeps
are so funny. My dog has been doing this thing. My dog likes to get in routines. It's really hard to disrupt her routines too, because she just really likes her routines. And we're in this terrible routine right now where she wakes me up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God, what is that all about? Oh, those are fun, Jean.
A snack, and then she wants me to take her to into the other room to snuggle her because I don't want her in bed with Audrey because during the springtime, it's especially hard for Audrey. And, but she's been doing this.
I think you like the texture I'm getting on my drawing.
I love
Yeah,
your drawings, Jean.
aren't those cool? And then what do you think about the extra texture that's added on this?
Can we
The
talk
fur.
about how your cat is a perfect example of what we're talking about,
Yes.
which is
Oh, she's analogous, isn't she?
and
Or
using
triadic.
colors, like intentionally, the thing here is the darkest color of the cat is only one spot. The
Mhm.
lighter colors are the other spots, and so that spot sticks out even though there's only one of them. It's impactful. I love your circles. I think that circles are a great way, like mini environment. That top one up there with the lines is going to be really fun to color in, and you're really going to be able to experiment with your colors in forms like that, so very exciting. Your cat is super adorable today though.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not even mad at the cat for showing up to the party.
I can't get mad at her.
No, probably can if she's like showing up in meetings at work.
She does that a lot.
Yeah.
All my cats, the minute I'm in a meeting, they all of a sudden all have to be on my desk and in front of me.
They're so cute though. So
They
I'm
are.
gray, which is not part of our color scheme, and I'm just the bad kid.
I'm
But let
telling
me tell you why. So I'm adding a neutral because I want my yellow, which I'm restricting the use of so that it makes more impact. I want it to stick out. I don't want to have so much white space that the yellow gets lost. And I don't want my blue spaces just to become little blobs. So throwing in a neutral when you're trying to balance out the ways that your colors are acting is a great idea. One of the problems that I'm having here, when you look at it, is there's not a lot of value difference. Because I thought that I had like a cerulean blue, but I guess I just don't. With the harder, it's hard to tell what some colors are when they just all look like they're black. Okay. Whoops. Let's bang at my computer even more than I already do. I'm just gonna have to, it's time for us to break up. You're stopping my progress by being wet. Go dry over there. Banish. Cut out and banish.
Okay, so the first piece is just two colors, right?
Yep, that's what we're just working with, is just the two complementary colors, two colors that are across the color wheel from each other. These are the colors that your heart is naturally drawn to, the way that they look together, red and green, blue and yellow, although I would argue blue and orange kind of falls into the blue and yellow thing. And honestly, there's a special shade of green that is really nice with purple.
Can we use shades within them or?
I do. I like to have 2 or 3 of one shade, just especially as you're like layering stripes and stuff like that. You can have different shades. And since I clearly feel like the rule breaker today, I also switch medias in the middle.
You're going wild.
What can I say? I'm just feeling wild and willy today.
Jean, how has your day been?
Busy. I'm getting busier and busier at work.
Well, that's not right.
Well, my boss tore her hamstring, so she's out. So
Dang. That's not an easy tear either.
no, she had to have surgery. She's
Yeah.
poor thing.
What do you guys think about Elon Musk buying
Ugh.
Twitter today?
Twitter? Oish.
He actually bought it for 44 billion today.
Yep. I think it's gross and dangerous, but
I know, it's really funny. A friend of mine, it was a really interesting conversation on his Facebook or on his, yes, Facebook, essentially saying like it just wasn't one of those things that he cared about today, you know? And it started a really interesting conversation because I think that on the front side of it, he wants to say he doesn't care. It's not that he doesn't care about free speech. He just, it got into the complexities of Twitter versus like Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post, right?
right.
And it's media has always been owned by moguls. That, you know, that's never been a question. And I think that the argument is that, you know, there is always the New York Times, there's always other, or currently there's other newspapers than just the Washington Post. Twitter is the only thing that exists
That is
like
true.
Twitter, right? And culturally, I get the legal system is going to have to look at the value of something within culture if somebody was to try and sue. I guess we're just going to find out, you know?
Yeah.
Also, like,
I wonder if there's antitrust legislation. I wonder if like antitrust laws would be applicable here.
I think that they are going to have to make a really good argument for antitrust laws to be applicable. I
Yeah.
that there's going to be a lawyer that tries to do it because I do think that it's dangerous. It's interesting to me, you know, this falls in line with the banned books thing. So, you know, we're seeing this resurgence of small bookstores and stuff like that focusing on banned books, right? And people are getting their banned book lists together and they're reading them. And I think it's interesting when you look at how books are banned, and they're generally banned in 3 countries if they're banned in the United States.
Right.
USSR, China, and the United States. And people are talking about this for different reasons. One, USSR will say that the book is anti-communist, and the United States will say it's pro-communist. It's the same book.
Right.
Right. It's this concept that they're accessing whatever cultural hot topic suits to motivate the public against something. But in all of that, though, it's part of a government becoming an oligarch, right? And that's what's happening in the United States, is that we're in late stage capitalism, and it's modifying and becoming a new economic form. So I think Twitter's part of that. The purchasing of Twitter is part of that. You know, it's a way to regulate what people are saying so that Elon Musk, who honestly is lying about everything.
Oh, yeah.
His
He
smart
doesn't give a
cars
shit about free
the
speech. He just
environment.
doesn't want anyone to insult him.
Well, and he's got this thing that is smart cars are good for the environment, but they're actually not. They actually, what it takes to create those batteries that often fail is actually really bad for the environment. It's just that they're environments in small villages and other countries that we don't know anything about. He's completely depleted the natural resources in the village of the place that he's already using. So I guess we'll find out how this comes out, how it plays out, right? There's nothing we
Yeah.
can do about it. I'd like to see some diversification of social media, and maybe this will force it. Also, have you seen the Chinese, there's this hilarious meme about Elon Musk where it's like, it says like United States, and it says there's only one Elon Musk. China can't replicate him. And then it's a Chinese guy who's dressed as Elon Musk, talking like Elon Musk, who looks just like him. It is so funny.
That's brilliant.
It is really, really brilliant. Okay. So I quickly finished this, which was one of the reasons that I went to the watercolors, is because obviously they move a little faster. I'm going to show you some choices I specifically made about color. Hold on. When your phone doesn't want to work the way it should. Okay. I leaned pretty heavily on my blue and pretty lightly on my yellow because I wanted the yellow to make a statement. And in good abstract work, your yellow, you have colors that stand out. They're part of the draw. They're the hot topic of the conversation. Then you can work some more subtle stuff into the other things. I used several colors of blue, as you can see. I only used really one color of yellow, and I used it very sparingly in a way to make sure that when you looked at the page, the first thing you saw was the yellow. And that's what I'm referring to when I say think globally, not just, locally. I could have just made it a lot easier for myself and made choices, that were just blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. But you will find that there's no interest in something like that. Part of abstract art, part of the exciting part about abstract art is that there is a certain amount of interest, right?
Mhm.
Went for an easier design this time, just some basic lines. You can't really tell because my phone's in the funk. There we go. Some basic lines. So they're bigger and larger, but I'm going to play a little bit more with, let's see what's next on our list, right? Analogous colors. Told myself, I wrote it all down for myself so that it could be super convenient for myself, but I am going to make some of these stripes though. And when you're playing with analogous colors, the choices of the shades begin to matter a little bit more, because otherwise it just turns into one big blob, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to go with my analogous colors. This one, I'm going to do pink, magenta, probably a pink or purple, and probably an orange. Mainly because I just did cools on this one and I feel like, shake it up a little bit, right? And I actually think I am going to get out a guide. Hold on.
What are you working on, Leah?
I am working on this incredibly tedious task that I need to get done, which involves cutting and pasting. I'm creating a catalog, a print catalog that Melissa and I can use so that people can order prints
Oh, nice.
from us. Yeah, and it's incredibly tedious, but it does have to get done. So I was like, I might as well have something entertaining to listen to and watch while I'm doing it. It's
I'm
like
surprised you don't already have that.
we have one, but it isn't it needs to be interactive in a very particular way for a big client that we've got. So, and in fact, I'll need a couple of your, I'll talk to you about it later. We will add you in too, Krista, because it means you get to like get paid, I don't know, $30 an image or something for not doing anything.
I don't do prints. My work just doesn't translate well.
Really?
So I just, yeah, it's because of the gold leaf and the hot pinks, like,
Well, that's true. I could totally see that.
yeah,
actually. I could see that.
it's hard to explain to people how well it doesn't translate until I got all of those images scanned of my work.
Mhm.
And then I showed Audrey the images and some of them just have color blocks that are physically just not there.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, because certain colors don't translate well to digital. So it takes a lot of extra work and like
Got it.
live with the printer so that they can see it. So it's just not worth the work, if you know what
I
mean.
got you. Yep, I got you. Well, then we won't be asking you about that,
I'm
but
sad. I would like to be able to offer that part of my work, but
hey,
You know.
did you do the interview? Did the interview with you guys in the paper run this past week?
I think it's going to run next week. It's part of the weekend paper.
Oh, nice. It's like you're just like
I just like,
off,
throw the cat,
Aw.
throw the cat.
off. She's very persistent.
She is. She wants her attention. She wants her attention. Oh, and she's back. Bubbles, I love you, but you was bothering me.
Why is the cat named Wobbles?
Bubbles.
Bubbles, because of her back. Got it.
Yeah, because of her markings.
I thought you called her Wobbles. I was like, is she a wobble cat?
No.
You have 3 cats in your apartment with you, Jean?
Yes, I do. I'm a crazy cat lady.
Somebody's got to be.
Exactly.
The
Well, I was gonna just have 2, but I was down to 1 and they were brother and sister and I had to take them both.
I'm officially a crazy cat lady, not you. I got 3.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Leah can't stop acquiring them either.
I know they're fucking great.
Oh, boobs.
Some people do it with kids. Some people do it with cats.
At least I don't have to send these guys to college.
Ruth. I do love all of the various social media posts about that show like animals, like ridiculously spoiled animals, and it says my parents are a 2-income millennial household with no kids.
Yeah.
Like a dog sitting in a pool. Like
Yes.
and I'm just like, you know what? It used to just be the gays that did that, but now it's everybody.
Everybody.
I always would make jokes when Stacy and I were together that I hoped that I came back as a dog of lesbian owners because they really do spoil their dogs.
Oh yeah, I want to come back as one of my cats. You know, I
Yeah.
want someone who'll take as good care of me as I take care of.
I
Yeah.
want to be Sandra Mahler's cat. Look, there, wait.
Yep.
Oh my God, she just like, we just got cat eye, like
Yeah,
serious
she
cat
she
eye.
just rubbed
I love it.
It was like that
Bubbles.
Jaws thing, except it was
Yeah.
a cute little cat eye.
Bubbles. You know this is being recorded.
Now Bubbles is being recorded. She's now a famous star.
Well, she's like, if Leah's cat can be in the New York Times,
Truth.
Did you know that, Krista, that my cat was in the New York Times?
Yeah.
Her butt, Mooka.
I remember the article.
Right. I remember the photographer came and like spent 2 hours here and he took all these great photos. In fact, a lot of my professional photos are based on that series he did. And he wrote to me when they published it and I sent them 35 photos and they went for the one with the cat ass. And I'm like, of course, because everybody needs to laugh.
You know, Audrey was saying about the thing with the Daily Astorian here. They didn't reach out to us. They didn't make an appointment. They just showed up. And
Really?
originally she just showed up to like check out the space and take a couple of photos. And she ended up doing the whole interview.
Interesting.
And so Audrey and I are making jokes about how terrible we looked that day because we didn't get any kind of time to make other choices with how we looked.
right.
It was the day before we left. We were just thinking to ourselves, I just got to get through today.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Oh man, this is a yummy orange. I hate watercolors for this reason. That's why acrylics are better.
Why? Because you can't get the colors consistent?
No, because that too. Because it's a turd. And sometimes colors mix together when I accidentally get too close.
Oh, yeah.
Sticky hands. Hate that. But I do like a lot of other things about watercolors. Snacks is being cute. So I went the opposite direction of my last painting here, and that I am choosing to explore big color statements versus tiny, tiny itty bitty color statements like our last piece. And something that I'm thinking a lot about is negative space. Negative space plays into this too. What does it mean to leave large amounts of negative space in something and not just go to town on your paper? It can be comfortable. A lot of people are uncomfortable with empty white pages,
Mhm.
artists in particular. I never felt that fear, but I know lots of artists who do.
Hey, Carissa, do you have an idea of what we should title this class?
Uh,
Like
exploring color and
exploring,
texture.
how about a little bit more specifically, like exploring different color combinations?
Funny color, however you want to say it. Is
Okay.
totally-
You have no opinion on this. Got it.
I would call it exploring color and texture in abstract.
Exploring
That's what I
color.
would call it.
All
but
right,
I
that's what
think
we're calling
call
it.
Different color and texture. I like simple.
Okay, you went
Oh,
off.
Yeah,
Oh, we lasted a pretty long time. That's pretty good.
Yeah. say 50 full minutes. I'm gonna give it some moments to cool down. I'm just gonna turn it off. and see if it can cool down. Sorry, everybody, as I just wiggle it around like a turd.
It's all right. I can't see anyway because Bubbles is sitting in front of my screen now.
Well, Bubbles. Okay, and we're gonna let it cool down and see if it can come back to life with us since it didn't fully die. This is such an irritating thing. I did a bunch of research and turned out that it has to do with the Zoom app. Because it just uses so much data and juice. It just
Oh,
overwhelms the system. But I will post lots of photos on WhatsApp, and Leah, your editor, can just edit them in.
Thank you. That's what we like. Hi, Mabel. Hi. Oh, yes. Hello.
so is Mabel living inside now?
Yeah, so this is the compromise we've come to.
She
She
doesn't-
is, yeah, she is inside the studio at night. And then she runs around outside and inside the studio with the cats during the day. But at night, I basically, I
Lock
leave the door, I lock her in because I want her to be,
Safe.
you know, safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she seems to be okay. I think it's funny, I have observed the cats go in, the other two go inside about 7 because I just don't want them out after dark. And you can see she's just like kind of sitting there like, what the hell? Like, I'm not exactly sure they get along because they're always, you know, Hermes is always kind of, you know, running around bothering her. And but she looks really bereft when we all go in.
Well, because nighttime is when cats like to be outside.
Right, right.
That's when they create the chaos, the cat chaos.
The cat chaos, that's exactly right. But they're definitely, oh, like right now, oh, nope, you're not gonna show me this, are you?
Are they cuddling, canoodling?
They are cuddling, but they're close. It's cute. Hermes is kind of sprawled out on the floor and she was laying there next to him, but now she's run away.
So does
wanted to
Muka
put
then
it-
have to deal with all this chaos? Is she just like, what the?
Muka gets to deal with less chaos because he gets to go out. Because he
Oh.
goes out, he runs around, gets his jollies out, and then he used
And
to
he doesn't
just,
bother her as much.
he used to beat her up all day long. And it's
Oh.
not like he beat her up, but you know, he's a big giant cat that likes to play and she's 14 years old. So she's like, no. And he's like, but come on, I'm so bored, right? So now he can just like go outside, run his little ass off, stalk around, jump up on things. And so Muka thinks this is all great. Like now when Hermes comes in, she and he are much more likely to be cozy together. And Mabel is learning. She's very shy, except with me. She will climb all over me, but she won't really go near anybody. When Melissa comes in, she's like, ah, and hides, you know, like even Rob, who's pretty mellow, like she's very skittish. So we're just slowly, Rob has said she's not coming into the basement, but I think she's going to come into the basement, but I leave that on the record, but like, I don't know, it's going to be a while, like maybe in 6 months or a year, she'll come into the basement. The
What
rest
you're
of us.
saying, do you think that Rob will change his mind?
I mean, when she and he start to bond, yes.
How does Rob feel about you becoming a cat lady?
Well, he's a cat man. He's half cat himself, so he loves cats. As I said, he's been like sort of putting his foot down, like, no, but he can see that Mabel is actually good for the other two. She kind of provides a focus. She and Muka are very similar personality wise, so they are kind of beta, so they like sort of skulk around each other and sniff each other, and then Hermes isn't always bothering Muka or always bothering, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
and Muka's 14. I think the other thing is he realized Muka's 14. Maybe we have her for a few more years, maybe we don't really know. And Hermes needs a playmate. So he's kind of recognizing that this is a useful, it might as well be Mabel.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's cute. So he's kind of coming along on it, but
Oh
But-
man, look at that greenie. Look how good that looks. I like the little white left in the
oh
middle.
yeah.
Well, as soon as you said leaving the white, I went, oh, that's what I'm doing with the center.
I love it. It looks really good.
So what's my next task? Analogous is the colors.
Once they're next to each other.
Okay,
Friends. I always call analogous the friends color scheme. So I am going to, hold on, I'm going to check my little bookie book. Okay. So you know triadic is ones that are three opposites of each other.
right.
Leah and I were talking about the one that Leah likes to suggest, which is the split complementary. So I'm taking my you can't see it, but I'm taking my analogous one and I'm adding one little spot of split complementary just to show why and how it can be truly impactful. I like to call this the surprise, right?
Mhm.
Is that a painting looks like it's going in a certain direction and you throw something in. And I'm going to put this color. And boom, I'm going to call this one done. This one's really fun though, I will tell you. Probably helps fit. Do it in this. Audrey's trying to be quiet over there, and that just makes me like, what are you doing? She's like snacking, but trying to snack quietly. It's pretty adorable. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this next one. Hopefully my phone is cooling down. Yeah, dang girl, it cooled down so fast. Let's get it a life reserve and see if we can use it for our next one. Not that big. Oh, yeah. Okay. So keep working on what you're working on, Jean. You did a
Okay.
great job creating your little ideas. I'm going to show you just because it's the halfway point and I want to make sure that we get the other half of this exercise. So this is really what inspired this class was that, as Leah said earlier in the class, sorry everybody that I'm going to look at you like this weirdly, but I'm going to get the camera set up again so that, just give me a second. So there's this artist in Hood River who creates a specific type of paintings, and I was super against them. Hold on, why is everything so hard all of a sudden? I didn't like his work. I liked the concept of his work, but what I didn't like about his work, sorry, I'm really trying to make this work. Concept, what I didn't like about his work, hold on, is how, oh yeah, look at us, we're back in business. Okay. Awesome. What I didn't like about his work, what I didn't like about his work was that essentially what he does is he creates panels, two different panels, like say two different paintings like this. He's got a bunch of these panels and he paints them, and then he creates frames and then just plops them into the frame like this. So can you tell me why, as an abstract artist who cares about composition, I might hate this? He's
Yeah.
splitting the painting in half.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of
Yeah.
using 1/3 and 2/3.
It's
Okay.
actually it's actually kind of violent way, like it reads very badly.
He's trying to be clever in that
Mhm.
the idea is you get to pick the two panels and then you get to put them together. There is something interesting about that, except for generally what he does is one super active, one super muted on top of each other.
Yeah.
However, I got looking at his paintings and I have this idea about an exercise. So I'm going to take my paper and, oh, have I paused? Why am I paused? Oh, we went poo, poo, poo. Huh, really, you didn't heat up that much. What is your problem, my friend? You're so dramatic. Sorry to make everyone sick. So I drew 2 lines just to kind of clarify where the part of my paper that I'm working with. Okay. And then I'm going to draw one more line, but I am going to be different. And I'm not going to do the line at the 1/2 mark because that makes me crazy. So now instead we have 2 halves here. Okay. This is a color exercise. One of these 2 is going to be a block of muted color that you pull out of the color scheme that you work with in the other one. The idea here, and I'll show you quickly what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to be conscious about your color schemes and your choices. Let me get some quick paints up. I'm just going to go with blues because I have a ton of blues on top, like a turd. And I'm going to go with this dark yellow here. Okay. You don't have to, you can do a split complementary. And I guess mine kind of technically, if I threw in a turquoise, it'd be a split complementary. We'll do a split complementary. So the way that I imagine this is, you know, working with, hold on, I even got myself a palette for this. What, girl? It's almost like I was prepared. I wasn't, it's a joke, it's fake. I was more prepared this week than I have been in past weeks. You're going to take your colors and essentially one side, you're going to be working on a more active painting. You're going to be layering some colors. I'm going to do some splotches just because I kind of like them that way. And then what you do is you pull out from the painting a color or 2 to layer together into some interest. I'm going to use several different versions of blue. Clearly all my favorites because they're closed with fresh paint. And then I'm going to pull in this crazy ass permanent yellow deep. Okay. And it's going to be what I do. Probably what I'll do. Oh man, I'm just making a mess. Okay, what I'll do is work on, I'm going to create an underpainting. I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to start with the underpainting. I'm going to create an underpainting in one of the colors so that it shows through just on the edges. I like to do this honestly with hot pink and then paint over it just because hot pink is so cute as it hangs out. But since I want it to dry, it's got to be the first thing that I do because I'm actually going to paint yellow over top of it. And we'll see how it goes. And then I'm going to work on this side. So this is about exploring color and ratio. Over here, I'm going to work on kind of pulling together my blues to creating an interesting composition. I'm using a really big brush so that I can have some really beautiful big marks. I'm gonna pull in some other blue colors because this is all about blue and the ocean, and they're gonna go over top of each other. And make this something really beautiful. Beautiful like the ocean. Although it was definitely nice to be in the mountains this weekend. Well, so a lot of things that I think about when I'm working like this is, you know, I definitely stick to my, I guess my brain calls them kind of color splotches into odd number selections instead of even numbered ones. I feel like that looks better. It might just be a falsity that I tell myself. So like this color of blue, I'm going to do in triples. And I'm just kind of filling in these little stripes, creating a dynamic blue scape. And then I'm going to let it dry. So interestingly, this looks a lot like the teal, even though it's a matte color. It's my new favorite paint by Golden, which is a weird matte colored stuff. And I'm actually going to pull in some yellow, but it's going to be a very tiny amount. It's going to be what I'd call the surprise. This is a very quick and dirty version of this exercise, just for everybody's knowledge, in case my phone decides to die on me again. You have a visual representation of it quickly. Okay. I'm using acrylic because in theory, you would work through these layers. I personally don't like a lot of brush stroke. Kind of irritates me. So I tend to stay away from the brush stroke. So here's my composition right now. You can see I left that one little tiny spot out. Oh, and I'm just getting blue paint everywhere. That's great. Well, that sucked. And we're going to pull in the bright yellow. Our teal on the other side looks like it's almost completely dry because I used a really thin high flow. I'm going to go like this. So the idea here is to explore this color, the color relationships that we're talking about, and exploring how you make choices about who stands at the center. Because once we learn to make these choices well, we can make some really beautiful dynamic paintings. I'll probably come in with several layers of these blues over this time to make this bluescape look as interesting as possible. But now I'm going to pull my yellow over here because remember I said this section is a different color. Boom. Man, we're going to light this mother effer up, huh? Keeping in mind that I'm actually going to leave a couple of little spots of the blue visible, because the idea here is we're pulling out from this, and I only used 2 or 3 blues on one side and I used the yellow on the other side. Honestly, you probably would go with a different, more complex color mechanism here, split complementary or tertiary, just to get some more colors in there. Probably use 5 or 6 colors, have some more dynamic interest on that one side. And then you're going to find the one color that really is barely represented, and you're going to pull it out as a banger at the next door. And I'm going to layer my colors and keep working on making this as great as possible.
A banger at the next door. I think that's a new color terminology. I like it.
Well, because look.
Oh, love it.
It's mirroring, it's just the one tiny yellow. We're going to work on layering these blues a little bit more complexly so that they have some more interest and they develop some sing-song color. And honestly, I'll probably pull in some green just to give it a little bit more zazzle. The idea is that the showstopper is the yellow, and that its relationship to the blue and the tiny bits that are next door are what make it look so impactful. So after you've done your other exercise, this is the next step of it. And it's very Joseph Albers. I got one tiny little dot of yellow on the blue stuff and I love it. My dogs know that it's almost dinner time and they hear Audrey in the kitchen and they're like, what's she doing? Maybe she'll give us some food. I don't think that Audrey intends to give him food right now. I think they're dreaming.
Poor little deluded puppies.
You know, everybody's got to have some kind of misunderstanding about the world.
We all got a dream.
Oh, she is feeding them.
We all got to learn about disappointment.
We're all gonna get our hearts broken sometime.
Hey, did you know that Jean was once the executive director of the Jacksonville Film Festival?
I did not.
Florida, Jacksonville. So she never moved to Florida, but she would just go down there and run the events.
Okay. What
Yeah.
was the interest in the event that made you do this?
I had been working at Sundance Channel, so I was spending a lot of time at film festivals. And I got laid off, and Jacksonville said, we want to do a film festival. And a friend of mine runs a theater down there. And she said, my friend Jean knows all about film festivals.
That's cute.
So I went down and did it.
Yeah. I ran a film festival when I was in college called the Queer Film Festival.
Really?
And actually, the U of O has a lot of money for some of these events.
Uh-huh.
We had a good amount of money for our film festival. And it was a really fun thing. Can't say I'd do it again now, but you know, at the time. I just am not that enamored by film. I wish I was more enamored by film. Ha, 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 ha.
That is
no.
so interesting that you say that. I have the same reaction. But I think what I've since decided is if I watch a film and it goes in, I spend so much, it's actually because it goes in so deep that I start, Rob says I start talking like the characters. I will often in my sleep be talking about the characters and talking to the characters like they're real people. So I'm not really that into film either, but I think it's because it's like too much.
It's almost too much for you.
It goes in like, I just can't handle the input. I would much rather lay and read a book.
I love film, but I don't like film. I don't like a lot of film that other people like.
We just watched, there's a Hong Kong film that was made at the time that I was living in Hong Kong with a very young Maggie Cheung and a very young Tony Leung. And it's a kind of like love story that goes awry. And it's very like sort of made by a guy named Wong Kar-wai, who's a you know Wong Kar-wai. And it's super sad and like really mopey and kind of like, and I did really enjoy that one. Although at the end we both were like, fuck you, like Wong Kar-wai, like, you made this really sad, like why did they not have to get together? But it was, oh boy, like it was really, that was kind of fun. I enjoyed seeing that. And it's definitely, you know, he doesn't tell a story the way a Western, like an American or a European filmmaker would make it. So it was really interesting from that perspective. And I lived in Hong Kong when that movie was being made, actually. So I was like,
when did you live in Hong Kong?
96 to 99.
Oh, so you were there right before or during the takeover?
I was working for Time Magazine at the Hong Kong handover to China. And that was like my big journalism breakthrough.
Yeah.
Then I left the field completely. But yeah, it was like, it was a very exciting time to be in Hong Kong. It was really interesting. That was a different life.
Does it feel like a completely different life?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, now I'm far enough, you know, I was in my 20s, right? Like my late 20s. So that was literally 30 years ago. That was our 20 years. Let's see, I'm 54 now, almost. So that was 25. Yeah, 20 something years ago. It does feel like a different life. I wasn't even an artist then. I didn't even think about art. I didn't have that idea in my brain.
I didn't find art until I was 30.
Right? But I can say this. I can say that there was so I was in charge of writing a travel column for the Time Asia edition, along with reporting for other stories. And I can say that we had this graphic designer named Cecilia Wong, who was really awesome. And Cece was her name. And every week, Cece would come to me at the beginning of the week and say, okay, what are the stories? And tell me how they should look out visually on the page. And I'd be like, isn't that your job? And she's like, work with me, Leah. And that was the first time I had to visually start thinking about how to, and she was a genius. Like she's a genius graphic designer. And she was dragging me along, kicking and screaming. Every week I'd just be a little bit sulky, like this is not my job. You know, my job is to write the words and your job, but like she was pulling me towards the visual, kicking and screaming. And that was I think that was really the first glimmer for me. And then I got this fellowship to teach journalism in Mongolia. And that was just it was such a completely amazing and different environment. I had never been in an environment like that before, that like my head just exploded. I stayed there for a year and then I was like, that's it. I got to do something different. I don't know what it is, but I have to do it.
Like, I'm not sure what the heck different is. This is not different.
I had this boyfriend I was really wanting to marry, and he dumped my ass when I was living in Mongolia for another girl.
Heartbreaking.
Oh, it's like, but so I would like, I had
in Mongolia. Love.
Oh my God.
The name of Leah's memoir.
Yeah, memoir. Dumped in Mongolia, right? So he was supposed to come out and live with me, and he didn't. He ended up like,
This is what I'm talking about for this exercise. You can see how one side is a series of layered colors with a splotch of one, and then it pulls out.
Right. Love it.
So I was kind of like, and I had this great set of friends, and then I was in fucking Mongolia, which was just the most epic place ever. And I had all these Mongolian friends and all these people from all over, and it was like 30 degrees below zero half the year. And I was smoking cigarettes then. I would like smoke cigarettes and I'd walk around and I'd look up and see how fucking crazy beautiful it is. Or some yak would be walking across, you know, the Parliament building, or some, you know, stripper model would be posing naked and, you know, right in City Hall just to do it because she could. And like, I mean, just shit just kept happening like that. And I remember it was this crazy year where my emotions were very like, everything I thought I was just got thrown away. And here I was working with journalists, trying to teach them, you know, like, here, do great journalism. And they're like, no, they'd made everything up. Like, I never ever like decided that my way was a better way. They were like, no, like we're just gonna make stuff up. And so all year I was like, well, but why, man? like I have a million stories about how freaking crazy. I do these workshops. I'd be the only foreigner in the room. I would never. They were a very poetic and metaphorical people. And they'd been under Soviet rule for 70 years. So they were so influenced by all the bullshit of that and the interesting things and the whatever, that like, it was like we were approaching, it was as if my whole idea of who I was exploded. And I loved it. I came back, I left after a year kind of reluctantly. And then I had to come back and figure it out. And painting came a little bit later, but it wasn't like, it was like.
But that's what opened your heart to it.
It was my whole physical being got open to it that way. And I just remember like I'd have these days where I'd be wrapped in like 20 things because it was so cold. And I'd be walking down the street and something crazy or poetic or epic or nuts or all of those things would happen. And I just look up and think, I cannot believe this is my life. And not always in a great way, but like always in a, oh my God, I really cannot believe this is my life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing. It was definitely, particularly now I can look at it with hindsight, it was the year that broke me. In the best way.
That's the year that breaks them though. Like,
Yeah, you have to have a year that breaks you. Might as well do it in Mongolia. I think that's what I thought. Like, well, shit. Like, I'd be like, smoke. Ah, this is sucking. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, let's go like hiking with the Finns in, up the highest mountain when it's 30 degrees below zero. Oh my God, my eyelashes are freezing. Oh, look at that. These people are running, like it was just this constant barrage of images and fascinating things. And even when I was miserable, I was often forgetting it because it was there were so many crazy things happening all the time. All right, do you want to hear the best journalism story I have, training story I have? I could tell you that. So I was in this workshop in the Gobi Desert, and it was just me and like a bunch of journalists from 4 different provinces. And the rest, everybody else was Mongolian. I was the only non-Westerner. All my trainers, my co-trainers were Mongolian. And so, so we were teaching a feature writing workshop. And one of the things that we observed, all of us, I saw it too, when we got off this train to get to this godforsaken place in the middle of nowhere, was a little homeless kid sleeping on the train station. And this is literally a tiny village. Like there really shouldn't be anybody homeless. It was a big problem in Ulaanbaatar, this capital, but it really shouldn't have been a problem here. So we all noticed it. And so as our first part of the exercise, I'm like, okay, let's list a bunch of things we observed. And of course, that was like the thing that was observed. And so then we said, all right, you guys have an hour. If you're a radio, we want you to go out and write a description of one of these observations. And they all came back. If you're radio, you just have to do like a radio like description. If you're a TV reporter, it can be visual. If you're a writer, you can just write it. So we came back in an hour, and this guy wrote, I still remember it because it was so, I'm getting it translated, but it was so good. He was like, he wrote about the little boy in the train station. And he said something like, I see him, happy people are everywhere. He and I lock eyes. He comes over and he asks me for a cigarette. He is 8 years old. I'm like, that is great. What was he wearing? And the guy said, oh, I don't know. I didn't find him. And I was like, what? And he went, yeah, I just made it up. And I'm like, I didn't find him. I just made it up. And I'm like, but we asked you to describe something that you saw. And he was like, yeah, this is a much better way to tell the story. And I just made up this composite of every like little street kid interaction I'd ever had. So I'm like, oh, all right, who's the next one? The next one comes up. It's a TV reporter who runs a picture. It's just 3 images. It's like a picture of a stand of trees, which fades to black, wood planks on the train, fades back into the same image of trees, but upside down. Okay. And yes, and they're all like, oh, this is amazing. Wow, it's like, it's so deep. You're so really getting it. And they look at me like, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't get it. My translator says, oh, he's saying that like Chinese people are coming over. There's a big thing with China, and like Mongolia was always like the Chinese are doing these shitty things. And Chinese people are coming to Mongolia and they're stealing all our trees, is what she said. That's what that is. And I said, okay, without like even bothering to say, is any of this true? Because I'm pretty sure, well, it could be true. It could not be true. I said, what about taking pictures of stumps? Like where trees have been cut down instead of like the trees upside down, the same trees upside down. And so she translates that and they're all like, no. This just doesn't work. I just remember thinking,
they're like, she has no.
What am I doing here?
That is craziness to me.
I mean, it was a whole year, like a whole year of that, and that it was the most crazy. I mean, it really blew my mind. Like they're just a very epic, like, metaphorical, poetic people, and they've been taught to be propagandistic. So like they're just looking for the way to manipulate, right? With their,
Yeah.
like the worst thing you could do is to call somebody like a Mongolian Chinese. I mean, they look Asian, so they are Asian. So like, and if like there was a newspaper editor who was quite famous, he ran a really trashy like rag that was very, very popular. And he was accused by somebody of being Chinese. And instead of going and saying, no, I'm not Chinese, he had to prove that he wasn't Chinese. Like he had to go to court and prove that he was not Chinese. Instead of saying, you can't just make that up and say I'm Chinese because you're a competing newspaper.
Right.
Everybody was like, all right. Like, all right.
That is,
It prepared me for Fox News. Let's put it that way. Really fucking prepared me. I was like, oh yeah, I know how this works. Fortunately, they were never mad at me, right? They found me entertaining. And I think most of the Mongolian journalists. And so they would, after the workshops were over, we would all go and drink vodka and sing, and they would do their best to like kind of entertain me and, pat me on the head and get me as drunk as possible, and flutter around me in this really sweet way, which I always thought was very like kind of them, considering that I was really just, I mean, what the fuck was I doing there? Like, what was the point of any of it? Like what they,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That year. That was a crazy year. Very
those are some
epic.
wild stories, though. That is for sure.
What's that?
Those are some wild stories. That is for sure.
That's what really makes me feel old, Carissa, is when I realize how far I am from that, like how much of that has happened. I don't know what it is about 50s. They're making me very nostalgic in that way for all of the sort of crazy adventures.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just crazy adventures. Yeah. I wrote them all down at the time. So I had this written in I sent a little email newsletter home. Every time something crazy would happen. My friends were like, when is the next installment? I can't hear like what this one is.
Like, I'm not making it up.
I mean, and people would fall in love with Mongolia anyway. There was one of the guys who founded NPR, his name is Bill Siemering. He was in his 70s then, and he would come out to Mongolia all the time, as much as he could. And he just thought he was such a romantic, I mean, he's like an NPR person. He like helped found Click and Clack, Car Talk, and
I love Click and Clack.
Bill was responsible for that kind of programming, right? So he was just looking for the Mongolian version of that. So he didn't have the issues that I did, because it was less about like whether it's true or not, and more about like the storytelling. How do you get that? How people tell a story and convey information. Like, so he just had this great old time. So Bill and I would often be out and I'd be freaking out because I couldn't get anybody to do anything that I wanted. And Bill's like, what's your problem? Just chill out, relax. Like, Leah, drink some more vodka. Just like, don't like chill.
But like, also like, you went there thinking you had some great purpose.
Mission, right.
And really, it was probably just some kind of weird, like, look like you guys are participating in something, Well,
I mean, we did something. I mean, I don't think we had no impact. And I think Bill probably had a better impact than I did. He was way wiser and older than I was. So, I think he knew more, and he was more open to the different ways that people tell stories.
You're blowing me away.
Yeah.
Look at her colors, Leah.
Let me see.
Look at that red, blue, and yellow one. It is so beautiful.
Yeah, I like that.
It looks like a little world. It looks like a little world.
Jean, you're doing it for me.
What I love is that you're both doing this assignment, but these are entirely different.
Well, this is technically a second assignment. Jean is just doing so good at her first assignment, she'll never have to go to the second assignment.
Well, I am working on the second assignment. But within the confines of the first assignment.
Right. Yeah, you know, you would really like Will. He is, if nothing else, a storyteller, you know.
Yeah, I know I would. I know I would. And it sounds like he's had his own like epic time.
He has, you know, he's having a rough week. Like you talk about feeling old, and I
Right.
think he's suddenly realizing he's dying, and it makes him
me
kind of
sad.
grumpy, reasonably so.
Let's see.
FYI.
Ooh, these are just looking great.
Jean, you're making some really great color choices. The small one with the red is really impactful, and it's impactful because of the ratio of color. The small amount of the blue, you know, or the small amount of the yellow to the blue and the red.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it equal. I wanted.
No, because there's interest that is different. Sorry,
Right.
everybody, I'm trying to deal with this phone thing.
Got it.
I'm trying to make everyone sick. But I'm very impressed with the composition on that one.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see the other one. My favorite one is still yet to be colored.
Jean, I feel like you have, I feel like you have like stepped up a level in every class. I'm watching you. I'm watching your pastel work.
You.
Yeah, I am. It's very impressive to me. You're finding your groove.
I'm just making a giant mess.
That's awesome.
Epic mess.
I'm just making a very boring form. But it's looking awesome.
Audrey made a really awesome order form for our business coffee catering. It's all interactive and stuff. When you order things, it changes the total. It has a spot for tax and all kinds of things.
Fancy.
It's impressive. Way to be a super achiever, Jean. Way to be.
Yeah, seriously.
One of my favorite exercises when you really want to talk about exploring color is similar to these ones where we're exploring an analogous color. But one of my favorite artists does similar to a color wheel, does a big circle, but then it has seriously like 50 different spots. And then you're playing with color and color relationships within those spots. And you're trying to make something that's impactful in these tiny little lines. And she uses watercolor, which is even more impressive because, you know, watercolor just likes to blend together. Rude. I'm obviously on an anti-watercolor streak today. Reminds me. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna get some stuff out of my way.
I'm looking to see if so are we done with the phone today? That's fine if we are. Your phone? I did get one. just gonna do that. Actually, I'm gonna wait, Jean, until you finish
Bubbles, no.
your thing, and then I'm gonna post that today for class.
What are you doing?
I'm making an Instagram post of this class. But I love getting little pictures of you working on, like, you know, adding a color or layering things in, because I think people, little videos, because I think people are obsessed with that. So
Instagram at least is.
Instagram is,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. It's interesting, Krista, I found a couple of comments lately. We've been getting a lot of comments on the abstract art stuff. That isn't like a Russian bot. That isn't like, it's not like that, like just a bunch of syllable consonants strung together. And one woman was like, she looked at your sketchbook class and she said, how do I sign up for these? I'm like, here you go. We haven't seen her yet, but she was extremely excited. I mean, I think the truth is this class doesn't really work for West Coast as much unless if you work a regular job, right? There's a few people I know who would take it if they didn't have to work, but I'm okay with that. I just told them, watch the videos, get a
The
new
videos
job.
are part of the benefit. It's not
Yeah.
that the service isn't being provided, and that's really the key
Yeah.
that for you specifically.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah. And I'm like, get a better job. Like Jean did. Jean got a better job so she can come to one of our
Yeah.
classes. She quit her old job and got a better job. One of the requirements was it didn't work as hard. So she could
So
come to
this
one of our
is-
classes.
This is when I'm talking about taking the color
Oh, hold that up.
wheel and really going full bore. But
Right.
Oh, yeah.
the key is, how do your colors relate to each other that make it, you know, a successful image?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
We're gonna find out. I'm gonna do some
Mhm.
playing. The problem I have with this exercise is that you have to be careful to leave enough physical space so that you can continue to work,
Right.
leaving dry space between things.
You're not going to do that in watercolor, are you?
Yep, I am.
Woo, doggy.
You know, I like to give myself challenges. I will-
That's for sure.
It's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful kind of project to work on. It's hard. It's hard to find colors that go well together when you have so many spots, you know?
Mhm.
And you're like, what color story am I telling here? It's especially beautiful with jewel tones, you know?
Mhm.
Oh, whoa, that's not what I meant to do, but cool. We'll do that.
Cool.
Cool. You know, watercolor, you know, you're just a toy of watercolor. It just takes you and walks you around the block like you're nothing. I'm really into natural pigment paints right now. Pigment. That pastel making class was really awesome.
Oh, yeah. Can you
So-
talk about that a little?
Oh, you
Yeah.
actually made pastels?
Oh,
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
You should have seen her hands by the end of it. If
Oh
you
my
go on
God.
Insta, you're not on Instagram, so you don't see it, but it looked epic.
we have a local artist who specializes in indigo out here. And she processes indigo into powder pigment. And then you can use binder and chalk to turn it into soft pastels. And did you know that one of the binders you can use is oat milk? Like milk,
No.
like literally soak 2 cups of oats with a quarter
Wow.
cup of milk, water, and you just soak it and it creates a milk that is a binder.
I had no idea. That's fascinating.
And we made we used chalk, indigo, and charcoal that she made. Yeah, it was a pretty awesome class. It definitely should have been more than 2 hours. Just because it takes a lot. But I feel like it's got me thinking about different other botanical pigments, which I was already interested in, you know. I would probably use more of the binder. It's like a process you have to like really learn balance, because you can make your pastels not usable. Or
Oh.
ours were almost kind of too crumbly because they just didn't have enough binder in them.
Oh,
So what exactly is the binder that you use in the pastels? It's a gum thing?
You can use gum trag,
Okay.
not gum. I guess you could use gum. We didn't use gum arabic. You can use
What did
gum
you guys
trag.
use?
We use gum trag for our charcoal ones and the
Okay.
chalk ones, and we used oat milk for our indigo ones. And I will tell you, the oat milk one, they were sturdier pastels. So
Oat milk of all things. Go
of all
figure.
things, yeah,
Go figure.
it might. Yeah,
Go figure.
it might just also be. I mean, to be fair, it might be that, you know, her process is developed specifically for her needs, and that oat milk was her choice of preferred binders.
Right. I'm just fascinated that you can use it. I think that's really great.
I was blown away by it, honestly.
Yeah, it is kind of mind blowing. Did you get a chance to did you just make them, or did you get a chance to play with them at all?
No, you take them home. I played
Yeah.
with them.
Have you been playing with them? What do you think
Oh, yeah.
about the colors and stuff? Are they great?
The color's beautiful. And obviously that was the part that I kind of excelled at, was the mixing of colors, where other people had like more trouble getting gradients and stuff.
Right.
The only thing I've struggled with it has been the softness or the hardness. Like mine are a little too soft. If I make them again at home, I'll work on just putting more binder in.
I just think that's
But you
really awesome.
don't want to put too much binder, because then you run the issue of them not being able to draw. So it is a delicate balancing act. And it's probably kind of hard to teach on a full scale. There's 12 people in the class. But it was fun. It was a really great. They're doing an indigo retreat at Southwestern in a couple of weeks, maybe even like next week, where they do all kinds of indigo projects.
So just using that pigment?
You know, there's a lot of different ways to get indigo pigment. So she grows indigo and then she turns it into indigo baths.
Okay, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's like a
And then
really cool.
there's like a process actually getting indigo pigment out of indigo plants. Her process, my understanding is it's like 6 months. Like it sits in a bath for a certain amount of time, and then you have a process of essentially drying it out.
Wow.
Audrey,
How much would it cost to buy her indigo? That would be
I have no
expensive.
idea. Audrey actually has some of her pigment. She has the powder version. She has a liquid and some liquid versions, like all different kinds of ways that they're done. I know that she farms her indigo at the farm that produces the tea we sell at Cambium, and that they just did a solstice harvest to start the bath that has to sit for 6 months. and they'll pull it out then. They did the spring solstice, and I think they plan to pull it out on winter solstice, maybe.
Are they artists, or are they makers, are they users and creators, or farmers, or are they
A little
Who
bit of
does-
all of it.
a
A
little
little bit of all of it, honestly.
What a beautiful thing to devote yourself to.
Yeah.
Indigo.
Yeah, she works a business with her, she has a business partner, and her business partner does a lot of like installations and stuff. And my understanding is the business partner really taught her a lot about the indigo stuff. She actually is a trained, like formally trained musician that kind of came to the indigo scene.
Through the
It's
love
very
of indigo.
interesting.
Yeah, obviously through the love of it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and she's super nice, and it was really interesting and fun. I'm kind of on a blue kick, so it kind of played into that. So, except for right now, I'm
Really?
doing a purple and green color wheel.
How's my lady? How's my little lady? Yes, my little lady. Yes. Jean, there she is. Here.
Oh, hi. Hi,
She's like, wait, come on, Mabel. Come on, show everybody you. Show everybody who you are. There
Let
she
me
is.
see how pretty you are.
She's like, I'm shy. I'm shy. If I bring this up, she'll be like,
No.
yeah.
Out.
Oh, there she is. Look, there she is. She's got a like,
Oh. Hi, sweetie.
So how did she come into your life, Leah?
you know, she just started coming to our yard and eating the cat food I was giving the crows.
Okay.
And then she would come in, and she was very skittish. So she would come in and she would eat the cat food, and then she'd go sit in a chair across the yard from me and watch me like carefully. And then I started bringing her food outside.
Mhm.
And then I set up a little self-warming cat bed in the the bar area. And she began sleeping in that because it was really warm, and it was kind of, so I'd find her often like sleeping in it. And then I started bringing her food, and then like she started letting me pet her. And
So she
so,
adopted you.
yeah, she was like, and then, when I found out that she had already been spayed, she clearly was like belonged to somebody once. I don't know
She
what
wasn't
happened.
completely feral.
Well, yeah. Although she's super skittish, like I actually got her to the point where I could pick her up and put her in a cage. And so I made an appointment for her for the Feral Cat Alliance to give her a spay her. And when I went to pick her up, they went, guess what? She's already spayed. And I'm like, does she have a chip? And they said, no, we couldn't find a chip, but she has already been spayed. So clearly she belonged to somebody and probably was abandoned or not treated very well and has been living on her own for a while. But so that's how I found her. How can you like turn that down? I mean, seriously, like how can you, she belonged to somebody. I took this picture of her yesterday.
Maybe they were awful people and she ran away and she knew she was gonna find a better home.
Find a better space. Come on, baby. She seems pretty happy.
Well, it sounds like you really listened to her cues when you introduced her into your family.
Yes. I mean, look at this face. How can you say, I just took this picture of her. How can you, I mean, she's like, actually, she looks like she's smiling. She's so cute. I know, right? Look at that little face. I mean, look at that face. If you look up on it, you'll see she's just like, I
She's
mean,
like, I am the perfect artist's cat. Look at
I
me.
belong.
No
I
splatter
belong.
here.
I don't know if she'll let me. Oh, so here we go. Yep, she doesn't really like it, but she's kind of Oh, okay. Yep, nope, didn't like that. Not listening to the cues today. So yeah, she just right.
You not listening to the cues today.
Not listening to the cues. That's probably me every day.
I'm adding some shiny gold stripes into this one. Oh, man. I'm hoping to get it done by 5:30, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tiny little color choices. Something also to think about in these kinds of projects, and something I think about especially in doing like this color wheel project, is you have to be a little more intentional about value. You know, how do you balance out super dark colors with super light colors? How do you make sure that you, you know, have some visual interest in that way? Value can be a hard one to work on. Sometimes it's easier to work on value just working with black and white. And gray, obviously, because it's value of black and white.
She's coming back from work. She may be.
Is she's like, okay, I'm not that mad at you.
I'm not that mad. I really hate it when you do that. Don't pick me up. Yeah, I thought when I picked her up and threw her in a box and drove her like down to South Portland and left her there for like the day, that she would be like, fuck you. Like, but no, she's just like, all right, I guess that's how relationships work.
Well, and maybe like the picking up was more of a statement than anything else. Not the physically picking up, but the coming back.
Yeah,
You didn't leave her.
I didn't leave her. Right,
You
right,
came back for her.
right.
And maybe that had a lot to do, you know.
Right. They're
What
such
do I know?
interesting, aren't the dogs and cat? I mean, really all beasts, but like in particular, dogs and cats are just fascinating. Like what the things that go on in their mind and the way they operate are so, they're sort of endlessly fascinating to me.
I just made the ugliest color in case you all needed
Let's
to know
see.
that. Nope, I'm not putting it anywhere. It's not going to exist anywhere but that ugly, nasty little spot that it decided it was going to live. It's like demon
Nope,
came with my
it's
color
gone.
palette. Jean's really working on those circles. She's got some work ahead of her to get them done too.
I know, I'm almost done.
Notice I'm not stopping this. We're normally at
finished
this
one.
point, we're kind of winding down and I'm like, nope, we're staying.
Staying for.
I'm
Sometimes we're
almost,
staying and we're finishing.
I finished the one with all one color tone, but a surprise.
Make sure you get that. Oh, Jean, when you finish it, and Krista, when you finish yours, make sure you get them through the thread so I can get them
I
edited
refuse.
in.
I refuse.
Hell no.
I just want to pretend I can say no in my life.
I will totally go along with that. I protest. No, no.
I'm actually doing really good. I just need a banger of a color choice. It's just, I don't think I have it. I don't think I have what I need here to make this come home the way I want it to. So we're just gonna go with this. Pretty good color choice though.
I know, P-Row.
Oops.
Oh, yeah. Leah's watching videos.
Somehow.
Playing them
No,
out.
I was looking for, you know how it is. You look for one thing and you get another.
I wonder how many times I would have to do this, to get it as clean and nice as the artist that I learned about it from. Hers are like pristine. This thing looks a little choppy.
I feel like choppiness is partly your signature.
Yeah, I don't want it to always be missing. I have clean designs too. I did a clean design when I was in the gorge. I just don't share them. Run away, you want it, run away. Okay,
Mother's Day isn't this week, right? It's next week? It's the
Next.
following week? Okay.
Yep.
All
Don't get us going
right.
too soon.
All right. Wait, what is the day of our artist meeting? It's the 7th?
7th, it's the Saturday before Mother's Day.
You know, it's possible I may be at a wedding,
Look at Leah,
but I will.
skipping out like a president of an organization or something.
Yeah. You know what? But it'll be earlier for you, so later for me. So I'll be able to find a quiet corner to pop in. I'll be able to do it. I need to remember that.
You don't need to.
I'm gonna be on a yacht in New York, somewhere off Chelsea Pier.
You're going
Jean,
back
we
to
should-
New York already?
What?
Sounds good
Yeah,
to me.
I have a yeah, Jean. I'll let you know when I know. I mean, it's like literally 3 days and then we're gone again. But yes, I'll let you know because I think we'll be pretty close to you.
Well, if you'll be at Chelsea Piers, yeah.
Oh, that's looking really badass, Krista.
Yeah.
I love it.
No,
It's
gonna dry.
glowing.
It's gonna dry.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yum yum.
Well, we are coming up on 5:30 now. Look at us.
Okay.
I finished it in
Jean?
time.
I have one more triangle to finish.
Okay. Finish your
Yeah,
triangle.
Jean.
All right, Krista, great work today. Great work, Jean. These are really amazing. Can't wait to show them.
I love your cat's face in this.
I know.
kind
Did you? Isn't she just the cutest? Like
it's
my
kind of-
friend, I have a friend who said she looks
Robotic.
like I have places to be. Like I have places to be. I belong to somebody now. I have places to go and people to see.
Well, it was nice to see everyone.
Well, give
Great
me
work.
2 minutes. Can you give me 2 minutes?
Yeah. Not trying
You
to.
will give you 2 minutes. We just get to watch you coloring in. Yada da 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 da.
It's a very small triangle to fill in.
Okay.
Okay. This triangle's a little messy.
You know what? I had a whole thing of messy.
Ooh, Charistia, that's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful? It's
Yeah.
glowing. It's glowing with these beautiful earthy colors. By the way, I'm going to turn off the recording.